I'm Dr. Samuel Acuff, a research scientist at the Recovery Research Institute in the Department of Psychiatry at Massachusetts General Hospital. We're talking with Dr. John Kelly today, who's the founder and director of the Recovery Research Institute and the National Center on Youth Prevention, Treatment, and Recovery, and a professor at Harvard Medical School. Welcome, Dr. Kelly.
Nice to be here.
So, the National Center on Youth Prevention, Treatment, and Recovery, it's a fairly new initiative, and I know you all have a nice website with some specific resources that are going to be available to people. So one we wanted to talk about today is youthrecoveryAnswers.org/bulletin. Can you tell us a little bit about the bulletin?
Yeah. So the bulletin is a play on words, actually. You know, for a long time in the Recovery Research Institute, we published this monthly publication called the Recovery Bulletin, which summarizes and contextualizes, synthesizes, disseminates the latest research every month on treatment and recovery from substance use disorder. So it's a little bit of a play on words because we wanted to design one that was specific to the new National Center on Youth, and we named that the Recovery Bulletin. So it's a fun play on words. But essentially, it does the same thing. So the Recovery Bulletin, again, will summarize, contextualize, synthesize, and disseminate research to do with prevention, treatment, and recovery, specifically on that population. So it's not meant for teenagers or emerging adults, but it is about that population. So really focusing on what do we know in the prevention, treatment, and recovery space for that population. And what we'll do with the Recovery Bulletin is disseminate that, summarize and disseminate that for the benefit of the public good. And when I say the public good, I mean also major players in the field in terms of policymakers, the federal government and state governments who can benefit from that knowledge. So that's what we want to try and do with the bulletin.
Yeah, so it sounds like a couple of the audience, intended audience would be the policymakers, government. Who else might be, in the audience for the bulletin?
Yeah, again, just like the bulletin before it, we want to try and reach and speak to people who could benefit from the science. That is, could be parents, family members who are often desperate and hungry for information that can help their child who has a substance use disorder. Clinicians often hungry, again, for up-to-date information translated and contextualized so that they can digest it and use it in their day-to-day practice to help more people. And policymakers as well, and researchers who can benefit from this information, in a digestible, usable way.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is housed within the website, youthrecoveryanswers.org. I'm wondering if you tell about what other types of resources someone could find on that website.
Yeah, so the information on youthrecoveryanswers.org pertain really to this developmental period of adolescence and young adulthood specifically. So it has information about that particular neurocognitive and psychosocial developmental phase in the human lifespan, and all the ramifications of that for the introduction, exposure to opioid stimulants and other drugs. What that does to young people and how young people respond to exposure and affected by exposure to different substances. So in that regard, we talk about etiological factors, so onset of factors that increase risk or decrease risk that are protective. We talk about early intervention and prevention, as well as interventions, different treatments, and also recovery support services specifically for young people. This can include recovery support services in educational settings like recovery high schools, collegiate recovery programs, as well as more traditional entities like mutual help organizations and recovery community centers, for example.
So a young person, a parent, a provider, anyone who is interested in learning more about this developmental stage, any substance use, really, prevention through treatment and recovery could find what they're looking for on this website.
I hope so.
Yeah.
At least get more information.
Get more information.
Again, it's just one resource that we hope is useful for folks. Another thing that's important to mention is that as part of this initiative, the National Center on Youth Prevention, Treatment, and Recovery, we have a new national conference. So it's the biggest actually youth-focused substance use conference in the world. We started it last year, and we will continue it every year going forwards. It's held in Baltimore, Maryland, in March. Again, it's designed to bring together all the stakeholders, interested and affected stakeholders from around the country and increasingly from around the world, to come together and share their knowledge and experience so that we can create a strong coalition of knowledge so that we can expand that and impart and exchange ideas to really make a bigger impact sooner in the clinical course of these disorders.
Absolutely, yeah. It's organizing the response and trying to help decrease the impact over time. So thank you so much, Dr. Kelly.
You're welcome.